So recently, a bunch of unaired pilots found their way online, dating back to the 90s. What I want to do is look at these pilots and determine two things. One, did it have potential? And two, how different would popular culture be if the pilot had been picked up for a series? Now, I love seeing these things. It's always nice to imagine what could have happened had a show got past the pilot stage. This one didn't have a title. It's just called the Untitled Oakley and Weinstein Project. No, not that Weinstein. It's Josh Weinstein, who worked on The Simpsons and Futurama. Now, a YouTube comment said that this series had the working title of Times Square NYPD, which is a terrible title. I didn't know how true this was. So what I did was I reached out to one of the writers, Bill Oakley. He was genuinely lovely and answered all the questions I had about it. He said that the show was ultimately called Times Square, which I think is a lot better than Times Square NYPD. The pilot has David DeLuise, the dad from Wizards of Waverly Place, Oswald from The Drew Carey Show, and Emma Stone in what might be the worst role she's ever played. Thanks to Bill, I now know how she got that role, and we'll get into it in a moment. So we start this pilot with everyone in the precinct having a meeting about stuff that they need to be on the lookout for. We meet a new police officer, Officer Jennifer Chin, to which David quips, "I've got one word for her, hostage." You can basically smell the foreshadowing here. An officer threatens to shoot his fellow officers for attempting to go to the donuts before him. Immediately this guy would be fired, if not convicted for this. But it's a comedy, so they allow it. Oswald tells us that the captain is about to retire, and has a few words to say to them, giving him the floor to say, "Up yours," which is a great joke.
As soon as he's done, I'm sure the captain will have some inspirational words for us on the day of his retirement.
Up yours!
Oswald is hoping to be the new captain of the precinct, but is quickly told that the mayor wants to bring someone new in. Already so much has happened and we're only 2 minutes in. This is so much better paced than that awful Alicia Silverstone sitcom we spoke about the other day. This is how you write comedy. The new captain is introduced and Oswald has to not only give up his new job for this guy, but he also has to show him around. It's a great setup for a first episode because it reveals Oswald's character to be a dedicated officer, whilst also showing his more human side. I thought that was really well done. They've done a really good job at establishing all these different characters. Now, it's fair to compare this show to Brooklyn Nine-Nine, as both of them are comedies centered around a group of NYPD officers, and both pilots show a new captain brought in who is much stricter than what the gang are used to. But there are differences and I'll get to that in a moment. And then Emma Stone walks in. She plays a famous actress who has lost the plot and parties a lot. Basically Lindsay Lohan before Lindsay Lohan had that breakdown. But the character is so obnoxious. Look, I'll play a clip of her.
I am being punked, aren't I? So real! This is great! Where's Ashton?
She's like that for the entire thing. It's dreadful. It's certainly no fault of Emma Stone's or the writers. The character was meant to be annoying. But I just want to make that clear. Now here's the thing. I told you I was going to explain how Emma Stone ended up in this show. Well, according to the writer, the role wasn't written for Emma, and they were having trouble casting her, which is when they remembered her from, and I quote, "that disastrous Partridge Family thing we did, where she was Laurie." Now, I'd never heard of this, so I did some digging. Back in 2004, VH1 launched a reality show called In Search of the New Partridge Family. The Partridge Family was a sitcom from the 70s in America. And this was basically a reality show about casting the daughter, Laurie. Emma Stone won the competition, but ultimately, the new Partridge Family was never picked up. Bill said that she was known as Emily Stone back then, and thought she was amazing. So that's why he got her to play this role. Mystery solved. I know this probably seems daft to you, but I'm really glad I got to the bottom of Emma Stone's first ever acting appearance. She's not even credited for it on IMDb. It feels like we've solved an internet mystery today. Sure, it was a mystery no one but me was interested in, but still. I'd be a very niche detective, one that only solves crimes that he himself is interested in. I think I've just come up with a new idea for a show. Now, I want to say, when I say that Emma Stone is awful in this pilot, she is, but I'm sure the part just required her to ham it up and be annoying. So, no blame to Emma Stone here. Officer Chin and the dad from Waverly Place go on patrol, and it's immediately obvious that these guys are kind of the odd couple of the show. They're from two different walks of life, and Chin is a stickler to the rules while David is far more lenient. David DeLuise is really good in this, and it does make me wonder about the alternate timeline where this show was picked up for series, so he would have been too busy to be involved in Wizards of Waverly Place 1 year later. That's what I love about these unaired pilots. They give us small glimpses into a world that never was. They then figure out that the new captain doesn't have any police experience, except for being the head of security at Disneyland, so they decide to get rid of him before he ruins everything. See, throughout his appearances, he keeps referring to his work as the company, which they initially believe to be the CIA, but instead it's Disney. See what I mean by this show differing from Brooklyn Nine-Nine? Holt was actually a great seasoned detective before he became captain. This guy is just a security guard. Oswald tells maintenance to lock the new captain in the elevator. I'm not sure what they were hoping for, or what they were hoping to do while he was trapped there. It's not like he was doing anything but taking a tour around anyway. They could have just let him wander around some more. Rhino, one of the detectives, has a case where someone is sending death threats to someone. They believe that the author of the note is a writer, and he's trying to match the writing style to one of their books. This feels like an episode of Castle before Castle even aired. The biggest laugh I got from this pilot was when Rhino was speed reading through the books to find the author of the death threat, and one of the books he reads is the Clinton memoirs, to which the Italian detective comes up to him and says, "What, you can't think Clinton did this?" And Rhino just ignores him, keeps speed reading. It proper made me laugh. Just the physical comedy of the detective reading quickly and then discarding the books, in addition to the lines that they were spitting out. It was little stuff like that that made this pilot really special. David and Chin go to a local DVD rental store because Chin wants to use the bathroom. David is waiting for Chin when someone walks in with a gun, telling everyone to get down. This is where the "she looks like a hostage" joke comes into play.
I got one word to describe her. Hostage.
It's a bonus for me, pig. You think I care?
Because she is actually the one who saves the day by shooting the guy before he can shoot David. I think the lesson here is that looks can be deceiving. I don't know why I tried to turn that into a Doorman video then. So what did we learn? It's stupid. Oswald takes the new captain to the store, where the hostage taker, who is credited on IMDb as Lowlife, grabs his tie. Oswald breaks it off and gives the captain a lesson. Rule number 1 of being a cop: always wear a clip-on. This feels very similar to the lesson of the Brooklyn Nine-Nine pilot being wear a tie because that makes you part of the team. I wonder if these two shows had any crossover. They were both at Fox, weren't they? There's a few coincidences there, but I can't see any familiar people behind the scenes. But this pilot was passed around to people to view and give their opinions on it, so maybe it was in the back of someone's mind when they were making Brooklyn Nine-Nine years later. The new captain tells Oswald that he doesn't think he's built for the job, but that he's gonna stick around anyway. It's weird how this pilot basically set it up that they were gonna get rid of this new captain because he wasn't qualified, but then he just sticks around anyway. It would have been interesting to see where they went with this, but I guess we'll never know. I found it interesting though, how the captain talked about how seeing the guy shot was his first run-in with the real New York, because it really set a certain vibe, something that we'll unfortunately never see explored. They also walked past the poster for Wicked, which is mad considering that now, almost 20 years later, that show is still running and selling out. One of the strongest people in this show was Deirdre Bader, who played Oswald. Sorry, Oswald was the name of his character on the Drew Carey Show. I don't know what his name was in this, I didn't catch it. But I loved him in the Drew Carey Show, and always wondered why he was never bigger. I mean, he's in loads of stuff, just very rarely as the lead. This show is from 2005, the year after the Drew Carey Show ended. So I kinda wish it had gone to series, so I could have jumped from Drew Carey Show to this. I do genuinely love the characters in this pilot, and I really wish we could have got more time to spend with them. This wasn't enough time to learn any names, and the IMDb wasn't very helpful because up until the other day, this show had never been online before. So I didn't catch anyone's names, but still, I want to know more about the characters. But yeah, honestly, this show is actually pretty solid. I'm kinda sad it never made it past the pilot stage, because spending more time with the Times Square NYPD would have been fun. I could easily see this being a comedy that was remembered fondly. You may be wondering, if this show was so funny, then why wasn't it picked up to series? Well, I did ask Bill this question, and he said, the pilot was not picked up because it was completely wrong for Fox. It was a solid show probably for ABC, but not what Fox was going to put on that year. And the rest, they say, is history. That's how this pilot became just another unaired pilot. It certainly had potential. If I were to rank the pilots I've talked about so far, then I'd put this in first place and Queen Bee in last. I think I'll try and rank them all. We have hundreds of unaired pilots to talk about, so this could be a really fun series. If you want to stick around to see me talk about more unaired pilots, then subscribe. We are so close to hitting our goal of 3,000 subscribers. So help us get there. Right, anyway, I'll let you go. Bye.